Yeah. What's really happening, man? This your boy OG Jigavelli, man. What I'm doing now is starting my YouTube channel, Street Code of Conduct. I'm be airing different topics. You know what I'm saying? Wide range of topics, right? But the whole purpose of my podcast, the whole purpose of my page, and the whole purpose of this channel is to bring some street code of conduct. You know what I'm saying? Some street code of conduct. What we seeing now in the streets, you know what I'm saying, on black, it was once called black on black violence. I'm here to say, man, we really done tapped into genocides now. You know what I'm saying? They got things that going on with young people are saying anybody could get it. We're gonna talk about that. You know what I'm saying? But let me give you some back history on me first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real OG out of Miami, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been in and out of prison, in and out of boys' school all of my life. All of my life. You know what I'm saying? I began early, like so many of our young brothers doing nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But I did Okeechobee Boys School from 88 to 89. You know what I'm saying? No, to 91. My mistaken. To 91. After that staying in boys school, it only, you know what I mean? It only made me a more wild, aggressive, person in the streets. I went out into Miami and I began to do more crimes. You know what I'm saying? So with that, led me to end up doing 11 years in the state of Florida. You know what I mean? I did 11 years in the state of Florida. I also did, my last stay was 16 years in the federal prison, right? So if you're real good at math, you add that up. You know what I mean? You add that up. I'm 49 years old of today. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for that, right? But that's a little backdrop on me. But this time when I went in on the 16 years in prison, I really had a soul search and I really did the hard work. I really wanted to stop that in and out situation going on in my life. You know what I mean? So with that being said, God led me to, you know what I mean, write a few books. Write a few books, and I'm gonna introduce these books to you. My first book is called Pressure. You know what I'm saying? As you can see the title, Real OG out of Miami. You know what I'm saying? That's undisputed. You know what I'm saying? That's undisputed. I know y'all have a lot of people that all look up from Miami, from Trick to Trina to Ross, you know what I'm saying? Ball Greasy. These people, you know what I'm saying? You can require about me. Just ask them about who Lil Jig is, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say I was a big kingpin in Miami, but I, you know what I'm saying? I am definitely a known soldier out of, you know what I'm saying, Miami, you know what I mean? And we're going to get into that on this page. We're going to get into a lot of subjects. And I'm really going to give you a real insight on the culture of Miami streets. I'm going to give you a real insight on the culture of Miami streets. You know what I'm saying? Because the things after, you know, me coming home and me knowing, I'm a real Miami native. Born and raised in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Out of Jackson Memorial Hospital. I'm out the sub, Brown sub, shout out to Brown sub, you know what I'm saying? But I also wrote another book, Federal Pressure. You know what I'm saying? This talks about my time in the federal prison. You know what I mean? So these two books, they're available on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Or you can inbox me. You know, if you follow me on any social media platforms, I'm going to plug them in. I'm pretty sure you're going to get to know me, man. If you following this page, you really want to know what's really happening in Miami, what Miami really stood on, what principles and what codes that we had in Miami. This the page to follow, man, because I'm going to give you real inside scoop. Could be given to you for nobody else other than somebody that's really born and raised out of Miami, really came from the streets of Miami. So with that being said, right, this first segment of my new page, you know what I'm saying, Street Code of Conduct, I want to address something that's widely been heard. I know y'all heard about the Miami Boys, you know what I'm saying? I know you definitely heard about the Miami Boys because it's been around since the 80s, you know what I mean? So I'm going to give you a little history on, you know what I mean, why Miami Boys became so famous. I'm going to give you a little history on why Miami Boys was hustling in your streets, you know what I'm saying, in your city, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you the understanding of what it is to be a Miami boy, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to do that right now. We're going to do that now. We're going to jump right into that part of the page and that part of the story, right? We're going to get right into what is a Miami boy and why did Miami boys, begin to come to different cities and hustle. If you know anything about the drug trade, if you're from the streets or if you just fascinated by street life and the drug culture, I know they made many documentaries and many movies from all the way from Scarface all the way to, even the new Snowfall, even though that was based out of California, you still get an understanding of how this drug trade was going on, in the United States, right? So let me give you a little history about my city. My city in the 80s was wild, man. The Colombians, the drug trade was coming from Colombia. It was coming straight into Miami, the ports of Miami. I know you heard about Rick Ross saying, I know Pablo, the real Pablo. Talking about Pablo Escobar, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Pablo Escobar. But yeah, this drug kingpin was sourcing majority of his, like 90% probably his work came through Miami. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all heard about Blanca and y'all heard about the drug trades and the Colombia trades in Miami. That made my city a source city. I can tell you about growing up as a child in Miami, you know what I'm saying, in the 80s, it wasn't nothing to actually walk out your door and smell cocaine. You know what I'm saying? If you're not familiar with cocaine, cocaine has an odor. It has a stink odor, you know what I'm saying? And it would be blowing. That Miami wind would be blowing. You'd be like, boy, I'm talking, we used to be riding, me and my homeboys would be riding, and we literally be like, man, you smell the coke? And that's how much coke was in Miami. There were stories where the Coast Guard would be chasing people through in speedboats. Shout out to Eddie Falcone, and you know what I'm saying, them boys that were trafficking on the speedboats, you know what I mean? But they'll be coming through on the speedboats and they be dumping barrels of coke out in the ocean. And you know how the ocean do what? The ocean push its stuff towards the shore, right? Towards the shore. So we're going to get into that now. We're going to get into that. But there's also stories where the Coast Guards and they be chasing low flying planes, and the planes will be trying to dump its weight so it could go faster. And barrels of cocaine will be dropping through people's roofs and in people's yards. This actually happened in Miami. It was actually happening in Miami. I know as a child, I remember as a child. I remember riding with my mama and just going down Biscayne Boulevard, and you'll see a whole lot of police in one area. You might not know what's going on at the time you get home and turn on the Channel 7 news, and 300 tons of cocaine has just capsized on the side of Miami River. And that was what the incident was. I remember these incidents. I remember homeboys going to their regular jobs as security guards at the hotels on South Beach. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the night before, big drug run, cocaine is just coming on the beach. It wasn't nothing to walk on the beach and find a key of coke. All right. So if you're an entrepreneur, a street hustler, or anybody that know anything about, you know what I'm saying, the value of cocaine, and you just stumble up on a key of cocaine, you already know that's a couple $1,000s in your pocket if you know how to get rid of it, right? So, a lot of incidents was happening like that. People was just becoming in the drug trade by accident. You know what I mean? I know stories of a gas meter, a reader, going around reading the meters on the house and just look through the window and see millions of dollars sitting on the counter and tons of cocaines in barrels. This is true facts about my city. So fast forward, right? When you have that type of product in one city, right? And the product is worth so much money in other cities, and the product is worth so much money in the streets, quite naturally, there's going to be a problem with distributing it. This is the problem in my city. This was the problem. This always has been a problem in my city. It was a lot of drugs, a lot of dope, but not enough place for everybody to play, everybody to hustle, right? So when that becomes a problem, you have to seek out new territory, new grounds. You have to spread your wings, how you like to say. You have to spread your wings. But before I get into showing you why we spread our wings, I have to give you an insight on the culture in Miami, right? The culture in Miami is this. Everybody can't sell drugs. If you're a real Miami dude, a real Miami, and you want to be real with it, I don't care how hard you want to pretend to your friends or your out-of-town family, you can't just put down just because you stumbled up on a key of coke, or you stumbled up on a pound of weed, or you stumbled up on any type of narcotics. You can't just say, I'm going to walk up on the block and serve this. Because we have a rule down there. We got a law, a street code, a conduct, a street rule. It's called short stopping. Let me break that down for you, what short stopping is. Short stopping is impinging or stepping in somebody else's territory and try to get off your product when you don't have no rights to that corner, that block, up under them staircases, you know what I'm saying, in the projects, in that alley right there. You don't have no right to that. That ain't your spot. You ain't gonna put your flag in that. That's somebody else's spot. they catch you out there trying to move a dime, a rock, a nickel rock, it could possibly be your death sentence to you. In most cases, it was. In the 80s, sometimes, you know, it's a little more structure. It might be something simple as a real terrible beatdown. We knew back then they valued life a little more back then. Life was valued a little more. You know what I'm saying? I just got to keep it real with you. In the late 80s, early 90s, you probably, for a short stopping violation, you probably just get a real terrible beatdown from the whole crew. Fast forward into the 90s, in the era of the John Doe era, and we're going to talk about the John Doe situation, you know what I'm saying? Because I personally involved in that situation right there. And we're going to get into that too on this page. There's going to be a lot of content on Miami. If you're looking for real content on Miami, this is the page to follow. This is the real page to follow. Undisputed, man. Can nobody challenge what I've said? You know what I'm saying? If they do, come on with it. But in the John Doe era, in the 90s, mid-90s, 95, 96, 97, 98, short stopping violation was a quick bullet. Now, if God wants you, that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But you were going to feel that iron. Them young boys, because at that time, John Doe had young cats, 15, 16 years old as lieutenants. These young boys, they first thought wasn't fighting. They first thought was putting that iron on you. They serving you a hot one real quick. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my homeboy Eddie Bo. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying, Charlie Boy. Shout out to Cooling Hound. Shout out just a lot of, you know, I'm just shouting out some real John Doe lieutenants at this time. Shout out to Bub. Ain't no pressure. But I'm a Valley. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna break that part down to you. What a Valley is in Miami. And what a Loso is in Miami. You gonna get to know what these titles is and these terms. I know you see them all over social media on guys from Miami. You know what I'm saying? Their social media name is Loso this or Valley that. You're gonna get that full story on here. I'm gonna be breaking down street code of conduct from a Miami point of view. Give it to you from a real Miami OG, myself. So I appreciate the follows, I appreciate the comments, I appreciate the likes, but most importantly, I want to get this out clearly. This whole podcast, this whole page ain't to glorify wrong, to glorify violence or promote violence or wrong. It's to bring some structure back to the streets. It's to give guidance to the wolves out here. To the young lions, the young thugs. Because one thing I realize, and I always say, I can't stop y'all young people on how y'all get y'all money. And I don't know if I will be totally right to even try to tell you how to get your money. Because I took my shot. My shots land me into prison. You might be better at what you do. I'm not going to attack your thing. But what I am going to ask you to do, have some morals, have some values, and have some conduct. Some of these things that y'all going, some of these sayings that y'all have that y'all living by, some of these actions that y'all taking in the streets ain't G. Ain't G. And ain't nobody told you that. Ain't nobody stood up and told you, man, what you doing is flawed, man. What you doing ain't real. If you really want to know what's real, you really gonna play in these streets. If you really want to know the steps that you need to make so you can safeguard yourself, this is one of the podcasts, this is one of the pages that you want to be tapping into on a regular. So I'm going to give it to you from, like I told you, from the state point of view and from the feds point of view. I've been to both. I know the laws in the state. I know the laws in the feds. And I also know that laws are constantly changing. And if you're going to be in the streets, that need to be the homework that you need to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Don't be ignorant to the moves that you're making. Because ignorance to the law ain't going to save you. That's your boy, man. I'm giving you some real tips, man. This is where to find it at. So let's get back to the culture of Miami, right? The Miami boys. You know what I'm saying? Because these first little episodes that I'm going to have dropping right now on this page going to be dealing with what made the Miami boys famous, what made the Miami boys come hustling in your city. You know what I'm saying? And let's get back to that right there. But like I was telling you, my city was a source city at the time. You know what I'm saying? We was, you know what I mean? A lot of drugs was in my city. But the problem with distributing the drugs and getting the drugs off was the issue. So the natural thing to do, the smartest thing to do for any real hustler that got product but ain't got nowhere else to get rid of it, is to hit the road. We call it get them going up the road. Because if you know one thing about Miami, we at the bottom. Everybody like to scream the bottom, but we really is the bottom in the United States, the gun state at the end. Our neighbors is Cuba and Haiti and the Bahamas. You know what I'm saying? The next thing, the Atlantic Ocean is bordering Miami. The next state that's bordering Miami is Georgia. That's why I say Georgia-Florida line. So a lot of Miami boys, you will find the first place we was hitting is the local spots in Florida. And when that became too crowded, we started going to Georgia. When Georgia became too crowded, you start hitting Alabama, South Carolina. You start hitting all the closest states to you. Because you quite naturally, who want to go too far? Then you trafficking drugs. So you're trying to make your time on the road as short as possible. So that's one of the reasons that you found Miami boys in your city hustling, right? Because there was nowhere else to get rid of the product. And also, the product was worth more once it left our city. If it's plenty drugs, that means the price it goes down. When there's a drought and a shortage, the price go up. Don't that make sense? That's with any commodity. That's with any commodity, right? So now, you finding guys that's stumbling up on drugs that can't sell drugs in their city. The smarter ones, the ones that want to take a little more risk, they got on the road. You know, you got family. I'm a Miami native. I got family in Georgia. I got family in Virginia. I got family, you know, all over. I got family all over. Quite nice. I got family, you know what I'm saying, Alabama. So first thing you want to do is reach out to a cousin, reach out to a family member. You seen a family member come to the family union, you make the connection. Or you might have made a connection while you was doing time in prison, like I did, and things like that, right? So now you find a Miami boy in your city, in this whatever city it may be, Fort Pierce, Fort Myers. Like I told you, you try to hit the smaller towns straight out of Miami first, right? Then you find Miami boys in Atlanta, you find Miami boys in Jacksonville, you find Miami boys in Alabama, you find Miami boys, you know, quite everywhere. And when we got there, instead of people trying to identify us as, you know, per se your name, first thing they would say, oh, that's the Miami boys, right? And they gave us play because we bringing work. We bringing work and we bringing it at a cheaper price. So we are welcome in. So let's address the topic of this thing. I hate when people say, "Oh, the Miami boys came to your city and put down." I hate when people say that, man, because you know every city got a pride, and every real street hustler got a pride. So when I was found myself in the federal prison amongst other people from other cities and states, I never addressed it because a real Miami boy know that we not coming to your city and put down. We welcome in. How can you put down when you're welcome? You understand what I'm saying? We welcome in. So a real Miami boy, he gonna understand that I'm not coming with pressure. I'm coming with work. I'm not coming with drama. That ain't gonna lead to the paper, right? That's not gonna lead to the paper. So we gonna dead that part about Miami boys come to your city putting down. Nah, Miami boys, if you want to use that word putting down some structure. Because a lot of these cities wasn't structured the way Miami was structured. For as, what I mean by that there, we had drug holes. That means we had the bond man. The bond man was the one that actually distributed the drug. Then we had the lieutenant. The lieutenant, the one that oversee the whole block, right? Then we had the gunman, because you got to have protection selling work. You know you got robbers in every city. You got robbers lurking. You moving $10,000 a day, $15,000, $20,000 a day in a spot. Every shift getting money. You think the robbers ain't going to test that spot? So you had your gunman ready, right? Then to worry about 12, to worry about the police, we had our watch outs. So you seen it. I know they made it famous in the movies like, you know what I'm saying, New Jack City, and you seen Nino Brown them putting down, but Miami boys been doing that. We was trained like that. Shout out to Ike. Shout out to Bo Diddley, man. Shout out to Vonda. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying, Musclehead Silk. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to The Real Trick. You know what I'm saying? Shout out, you know what I'm saying, the Tiny Head. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying, just so many street legends. Vi. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Vicious Vi out the Scots. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to these kingpins, these bosses that gave us that structure down in Miami. Shout out to Big Boss. Shout out to Big Murph. You know what I mean? Shout out to them boys that really put the stamp down in the city and really was showing us, you know what I'm saying, how to have a structure, how to build a team. I know y'all seen them pictures in the 80s, right? Where all the boys had all the jewelry on and you couldn't tell who was the big man, who was the little man. That's because at them time, the structure was there, the team was eating. It wasn't just for sign for one man. It wasn't about the plug. Nah, it was about the team. Shout out to them boys that gave us that structure. Shout out to Rick Brownlee. Can't forget the mayor. You know? Shout out to them boys, man. That gave us the real game, man. The real structure in the streets. Shout out to my homeboy Jit, man, off the app, man. Slope. Tiny Head. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cat Head and Nene. Shout out to Lil Sweets. Shout out to Murph. Them boys that really put some structure down in the city, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, so not to lose focus on what I'm trying to tell you why Miami boys was hustling in your city. They was hustling in your city because they couldn't hustle in their city. And I'm gonna tell you another secret about most of the Miami boys that was in your city. All of them didn't find a kid coke and went up there on their own strength. A lot of them got sunk up there by these bosses I just named. A lot of Miami boys, a lot of kingpins understood that, man, hey, man, there's more money to be made out of town. Let me send a team out of town. So while you thought you was meeting the plug up the road, the Miami boys, they was up there working still too. A lot of Miami boys don't want to admit that they was a worker. I'm not ashamed to say I worked. You know what I'm saying? You got to follow before you can lead. You know what I'm saying? I didn't come in the game selling dope. I came in the game I used to be a robber. Shout out to Robin Hood, man. You know what I'm saying? I was one of the ones, I needed my money fast. I thought selling drugs was too slow for me. And like I said, it was too much pressure on trying to sell drugs in Miami, but nobody can tell me who I could rob. So I'm really him on that, man. You know what I'm saying? My first, when I went, like I told you, I went to boys' school. I went to boys' school for 2 counts of armed robbery, 3 counts of attempted murder, and armed burglary, and cocaine with 1,000 feet of a school zone. Because I was already on a run from a cocaine charge. Check my record, man. I talk about it in my book, Federal Pressure, man. Pressure. You know what I mean? I talk about it in that book right there. But yeah, and most of my prison states up until most of my prison bids up until the time I went to the feds was on robbery. You know what I mean? I come up playing with that gun for real. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this to glorify it. I'm not saying this to lead other young people to do that, but that's just my story. Understand me? And all stories like mine don't end well, man. All stories like mine don't end up with the OG retiring and giving out free game. So moving forward, right, we talking about the Miami boys and why they came to your city and why they became famous and why they became hustling. But I'm going to give you a little fun facts about the Miami boy title. I didn't know this until I went feds and had to fight my own federal case, right? But actually on the federal books, the guys that got the label Miami boys wasn't even from Miami. Ain't that crazy? The guys that got the label as the Miami boys was actually not even from Miami. You heard it from me first. Go look it up in the law books, man. They were from Palm Beach and they caught their case out of Knoxville, Tennessee. If you know anything about the law books, this is public information. You could go look it up. Look up the Miami boys in the federal books, and then you see the case. And one of the head ringleaders was a guy named Boulash. I never met the guy before. I heard of the guy because after his crew got knocked off in Knoxville, Tennessee, me and a few associates, family members, we put our thing down in Knoxville, Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? That's why I caught my federal case out of in '04 and '06. I had 2 federal cases. I had an 8-count indictment. Right? So now, I was actually surprised to find out the guys that was on the federal books as the Miami boys was not even from Miami. Wasn't that crazy? They was not even from Miami. It was a guy named Boulash and his homeboys. I think maybe from off S Avenue or maybe from some part of Palm Beach. But I know they're from Palm Beach. I know for a fact. Look it up. Everything that I mentioned, everything that I talk about on my podcast and on my page, you're going to be able to go find it. Everything that I've written about in my books, you're going to be able to go test it, find it. And I challenge anybody that follow my page, anybody that's want to question anything that I say out my mouth, because ain't no capping going on over here, baby. Like the young people say, ain't no capping going on over here. I put a $5,000 bounty on my book. You find any caps in any one of my books, man, hey, tap in, man. I owe you that. But I know you'll never get it because I don't do that. So not to get sidetracked off the story of who the Miami boys and why did the Miami boys become famous and why was they in your city hustling. I told you, Miami a source city, plenty of drugs, not enough spots to get rid of that, right? So enhance, the smartest thing to do is get on the road, right? So this to me, it was already happening before I much came of age on the streets. My homeboy, the original Miami players, the original ones that get the most notoriety out of Miami, I'm finna name them right now. They were making big moves up the road. Shout out to Trav, shout out to Balls, shout out to Convertible Burt, know what I'm saying? Shout out to Musclehead, shout out to Silk, know what I'm saying? Shout out to even shout out to my home. I can never talk about Miami and not mention my homegirl Vonda from over town, man. But shout out to them, know what I'm saying? Them people like that was sending. Shout out to the real trick. The real trick, know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the real trick that was sending that work up the road, man. My homeboy 7115, man. Know what I'm talking about? But at the end of the day, these the people that when you go to Atlanta and you start talking about the Miami boys, or you go shout out to Tiny Head too, that down there putting this thing down in Temple. Know what I'm saying? Shout out to them boys, man. Shout out to my homeboy Piccolo, the real Piccolo, not the rapper. Know what I'm saying? When them boys there were doing their thing, you know what I'm saying, putting them things down, you know what I'm saying, them the ones that should get the real credit as being, you know what I'm saying, Miami boys. But that's not an exclusive title to just them. Cause like I say, Miami boys are Miami, real Miami players, real Miami hustlers, real Miami, and they ain't gang bangers. Cause that's another thing that I want to address on this segment, but we're going to address that gang culture in Miami on other segments to come. Because I'm going to be giving you real street code of conduct. I'm going to be giving you real Miami cultural history, know what I'm saying, from an OG aspect and from a real Miami OG. So now, right, why Miami boys was in your city hustling like that? And the surprising part was a lot of these Miami boys that was in your city was actually working for another kingpin, for another boss. Truth be told, a lot of guys don't want to contribute. They want to be the man. They want to display themselves as the man, right? And in your real aspect, just because you're working for a man or working for another guy, don't make you not the man. But if you have a problem with it and you're working for that guy, then you what I consider fake. You know what I'm saying? If you got a problem with saying, yeah, you know what I mean, the big homie got me down here, or the big homie put me on, or the big homie, know what I'm saying, this ain't my product. If you misrepresenting yourself to the locals, to that city as you the man, this your package, yeah, you were faking. You was faking. Right? So that part, I just want to drop that out there, man, because everybody you seen from Miami that was hustling in your city, not necessarily mean that was their package. In most cases, especially in the early, let's say early 90s, late 80s, majority of the guys that you seen that was coming up to your city that was representing Miami was on somebody else's line. They was working. They was working for some of the people, some of the big kingpins I had just named to you. They were working. Now, when you start getting into the mid-90s, to 2000, those Miami boys that you seen in your city, they probably had their own package. They probably had their own package. Why? Because this is something that I want to address too. By this time, the kingpins that I had the name to you, the Ikes, the Bo Diddleys, the Rick Brownlees, the Convertible Burps, the Vondas, the Muscleheads, the Silks, the Big Murph, the Vicious Vi, these boys was already in federal indictments, locked up in the federal pen, and probably already been going over 10 years. That's something that was intentionally done in Miami. I don't care what nobody else say. I know that they took our kingpins away for a reason. I know for a fact. It happened too, you know what I mean? It happened too rapidly. It happened too around the same. They indicted and sucked up all the major players in Miami around the same time. It left a void. It left a void in game. It left a void in, you know what I'm saying, passing down the code. This brought about the John Doe era. This brought about the Joe Pound era. This brought about, you know what I'm saying, the eras of cliques beefing against each other when over not even spots. A lot of the wars and a lot of things that was going on in the mid-90s wasn't even about no paper, man. I know this for a fact. A lot of the wars that was going on in Miami in the mid-90s, the John Doe war with the Vellies, all this wasn't even about no paper. The Zopound, you know, going through, this wasn't even about no paper. You know, the Booby Boys going through it with my homeboy, going through with my homeboy Bam and Fame them over town, you know what I'm saying? And going through with them boys there. Wasn't even about no paper. Wasn't even about no paper. It was majority of the time, it was about one of them slept with the other one home with a girl and things of that nature. Somebody done disrespect somebody through their old lady, man. A lot of the wars were done by females, man. I know for a fact. Understand what I'm saying? But being soldiers and being down with your homie, you roll. You roll for the cause. And shout out, yeah, like I was finna mention, yeah, the Bam, the Fame, the Raw. You know what I'm saying? Them the ones that was going through it with Booby. Shout out to Efo. Shout out to Mike Hopper. Chico. Shout out to Plex. Shout out to Fats. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Booby. A lot of them wars that was going on, man, wasn't even about no paper, man. These people, when they took our kingpins, when they took our bosses, they left a void. They left a void in guidance. It was created anybody could start hustling now. And another thing, around this time, the cell phones really started popping. So now back to what I was talking about with the short stopping. You didn't have to short stop in an actual physical spot now. You could meet somebody near somebody's spot, give them your phone number, and meet them at the local gas station, at the Winn-Dixie, at the Kroger's, you know what I'm saying? At the Pilot, at the Amoco, at the Shells. So when the phones start getting in play, people start busting moves off their phones. We still had our spots jumping, but now you got people that were pulling in little, you know, this was created the trap houses now. You know what I'm saying? This created the trap houses era. Well, now I can set up shop in any abandoned house on any strip, any corner, and I can just start moving traffic through that house. I didn't have to be on the staircases. I didn't have to be in the alleys. I didn't have to be up under the steps in the projects. So when that came about, it opened the door for any and everybody wanting to get in the dope game. And any and everybody being able to get in the dope game. And we see how that helped destroy us too. Freelance drug selling, never gonna work. It's never gonna work. I'm here to tell you that right now. I done looked at it from all aspects. It's never gonna work. Why? It gives too many opportunities for too many people to participate in a drug game that was never meant for everybody to play in, man. It was never meant for everybody to play. All you guys that's getting drugs, getting dope, getting in the dope game ain't even been tested. Never been a juvenile. Never been up under that pressure of being handcuffed and put it back in the post. We see now incidents where guys I just posted on one of my pages, young guy up there in Chicago, you know what I'm saying? I think it was from Chicago. He telling right as soon as he get in the police car, the police got to tell him to hold it down, man. The era of snitching is in front first and foremost now. Why? Because everybody ain't built for this game, man. Everybody ain't built for this game. That's why it's so important for my page and my content, man, street code of conduct, man. Cause for real, you know, you really, if you ain't cut for it, man, it's something that you don't want to get into, man. And you gotta realize, I can speak for Miami. When our drug lords or kingpins, the guys that I mentioned, the Ikes, the Rick Brownies, you know what I'm saying, the Bo Ditleys and the convertible Burks and the Vondas, they was setting a good example when they was getting their money. It was nothing to see report card days in the project and Vi got us all lined up and he giving $100 for the A's. Or taking a whole busload of project kids to Disney World, the Busch Gardens. These guys was giving back to the community. They was creating Ike had a construction company, a nightclub. They was creating jobs in the community. They might have been getting the money out the community, but they were funding the money back into the community. There was no such thing as you hustling up in the projects up under somebody's staircase and their lights go off, or they don't have any food inside their house. That was that man. One of the lieutenants, dope boys found out that Miss Cookie or Miss Betty, I'm just throwing some names out there, lights about to go off. Man, they paid not only the light, they might pay the whole mortgage, the whole rent for that month. Just out of courtesy. You don't see that nowadays. You see the drug boys, dope boys taking the money out the hood and not investing back in the hood. We might see a few rappers want to hand out a few turkeys and do it on popular days to try to get up their little following or whatever they doing, but that was not true, real love and you know what I'm saying, true love for the hood. And that was done by design. They knew if they'd have left our drug lords alone, that the streets of Miami wouldn't have the gang culture that you see going on, the senseless genocides that you see going on, the black on black wouldn't been going on. And I'm not saying that niggas wasn't getting popped back in the days, niggas wasn't dying back in the day. It wasn't dying for senseless. You found the nigga laid up with his head split. He violated a certain code. His family wasn't attacked. His house wasn't shot up. His baby mama wasn't hit up. Anybody couldn't get it. He got it. That's street code of conduct. We're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about it on this page. We're going to get into it. We're going to dive into some real street code of conduct, man. Like it or not, man. If you got anything that you want to add to it, comment. If you got anything that you want to, expound on or you want to ask questions about, come on with it. I'm 49 years, man. God's will, I see this next year, I'll be 50 years old in this thing, man. I told you, man, I've been in this thing since 11 years old. I've been in this thing since pumping gas, bagging groceries, man. Selling cans and bottles, boy. Ain't no cap. I'm a real hustler. I never claimed to be no kingpin out of Miami, but I'm an OG. Why? Because I stood on the code from the time I came in the streets. That would make me an OG. I ain't never ratted on no nigga. Matter of fact, I got it branded on me, man. Stop snitching. Stop snitching. You don't much hear about that no more. But that's just one aspect of the game, man. Everybody think that's the full rule of the G code. Nah, man. That's one aspect. I broke it down on the interview. If y'all want to know who I am, man, I did an interview. If you just getting up on who OG Jigavelli is, I did an interview on that boy page, Finesse, man. The rich and unemployed, man. I had the Gucci bucket hat on at the time, man. And he interviewed me, man, and it got a lot of positive feedback, man. But when I did that interview, somebody reported, because they don't want to hear this might get reported. They don't want to hear me talk about street code of conduct. They don't want to hear me talk about bring back the real G code. They don't want that. They invested too much time and energy. They done attacked our culture through the music. They done attacked our culture through mass incarceration. They done attacked our culture through all these. The last thing they want to do to realize that it's a real seed out here growing. And guys like myself, guys like them boys, Wale and Gilly, my Sean the General, my man down there in Temple Street Elements. You know what I'm saying? To the real OGs that's out here making an impact. They don't want our voice out in front. They want, I'm not gonna take no shot. They want these clowns that thinking that y'all seeing on social media representing themselves as real OGs. They want them clowns message out there. They done banned me, man. I've been banned on TikTok live for a year now. You know what I'm saying? My page finna be, y'all make sure y'all go follow me on at OG Gigavelli. You know what I'm saying? OG Gigavelli. You're gonna be in my it's gonna be in my bio. You're gonna be a way to find me. But I got my TikTok. I got my Instagram. My Instagram is Veli Life, VELI Life LIFE 305. I'm gonna have that tag. Then you can follow my content on Veli Life 305. That's on IG. Gigavelli Hunter on Facebook for the older people. You know what I'm saying? But it's on now, man. It's on now. The people been really needing to hear this, man. My city being, I started this off talking about Miami, and a lot of content gonna come from Miami because that's where I'm from. That's my specialty. You know what I'm saying? That's my city. So Miami is a source city. We are a city that led, you know what I'm saying, in the drug trade. We the city that LA wasn't on. We the city that taught you the whip game. How to drop work. How to bring it back. A real Miami boy. That's what real Miami boys was doing, man. Bringing work. Man, real Miami boys wasn't Bloods, Vice Lords, Crips, GDs, or whatever other gangbangs, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to when I went to the feds, I got a better understanding of the gangs. I got a better understanding of the structure of the gangs and what they came from and what they implemented. Shout out to man, Free Larry Hoover, man. Shout out to man, the growth development, man. Shout out to growth and development, man. Free the chief, man. We need that light back out here, man. Shout out to Big Dirt, man. He home, man. Which is my Muslim brother. Assalamu alaikum. We see the impact that Big Dirt having on Lil Dirt music now. So we see when the real OGs speak, the young people gonna listen, man. The young lion, I got a saying that I like to say, man. The problem with the game is we got a lot of cats talking to young lions. A young lion's not gonna listen to a cat. It takes a lion to talk to a lion. And you looking at one, man. This your boy, real OG Gigavelli, man. Thanks for everybody for tapping in. There's gonna be more and more videos coming, man. More and more content coming. I'm a steady break down what is a real Miami boy and why real Miami boys was hustling in your city. I'm gonna be breaking down street code of conduct, you know what I'm saying, specializedly for Miami. But if you got any content that you want to add to, we're going to be talking about the real G code. We're going to be talking about what needs to be done in this culture. We're going to be coming up real solutions. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to having guests. I'm looking forward to having, networking with other OGs from other cities, man. It's time. It's time, man. You know what I'm saying? It's time for niggas in Chicago. It's time for niggas in Miami. It's time for niggas in Florida. It's time for niggas, you know what I'm saying, Alabama. It's time really for the South. Cause them boys up north, man, they got their shit together. I've been watching them, man. Shout out to $1 Million Word of Game, man. I've been looking forward to working with you boys, man. Shout out to Big Banks, them here in Atlanta, man. Shout out, I'm looking forward to working with you boys, man. Shout out, man, to all the ones that really want to make solutions, man. And like the old people say, man, it takes a village, man. It takes a village. You can't leave the OGs out, man. Make sure y'all tap in. Go get my book, man. You know what I'm saying? It's on Amazon. Federal Pressure and Pressure. You know what I'm saying? Both of these books are on Amazon right now. You could get them. Real true story, real facts, man. The author name is Keithan Hunter. That's my government. Also, if you want to check, right here I say I'm still on paperwork. That means I'm 100% solid, man. Shout out to all my federal brothers, man. My Fed babies, man, that know me. You know what I'm saying? I did 16 years in the Feds. I can sit at any table in the Feds, man. I was part of a coalition that was consist of Bloods, GDs, Vice Lords, Crips, Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Based upon real paperwork, man. Shout out to my DC homeboys, man. What's up, Mo? Know what I'm saying? Shout out to my DC homeboys, most of them my Muslim brothers, man. Shout out to all my Muslim brothers, man. Assalamu alaikum. Can't forget, man, all praise due to Allah, man. It's your boy OG Jigavelli. This had been a segment of Street Code of Conduct. The topic was, what's a real Miami boy and why Miami boys was in your city hustling, man. You got it from me first. Tap in.